So the problem a lot of enduro riders have with going out riding is they run out of energy. And it doesn't matter how fit you are, how strong you are, how much training you do, if you're not fueling yourself properly, putting the right fuel in, the right amount of fuel, or doing it at the right time, it's only a matter of time before you hit the wall. So especially with enduro, it's usually once you get past that hour mark, those who dial in their nutrition and are able to carb load well are able to keep pushing for a long period of time. Those that aren't are the ones that generally hit the wall. They're the ones that want to keep stopping for breaks. They feel very, very low on energy, and really they just feel like going back to the car. Ends up ruining your ride. So what I'm going to do in this video is just show you, as you can see, I've got a whole heap of different products here. I'm going to show you how to carb load correctly for your next ride. I'm going to give you some examples with some of these products and show you the difference between the different types of carbs. Because a lot of people think it's just about having a bowl of pasta the night before, and there's definitely a bit more to it than that. So, first thing you need to know is that carbohydrates are your main fuel source for riding. Okay, that's the source of energy that your body works best with when you're doing enduro rides. So if you're doing 2-3 hours plus, carbs we want to make sure are fueling all of your riding. Now, within carbohydrates, we've got two types. We've got simple carbs, we've got complex carbs. Okay, and it's very important you know the difference between both and just a rough idea of how they work with your body. Because if you put the wrong ones in at the wrong time, that's the difference between you doing carb loading and going, hey, this works really well, and you doing carb loading and going, hey, I actually feel terrible and I feel worse than I did before. So the two types of carbs, we've got simple and complex. Complex carbs are high in starch. What that means is they take a while to break down. They take 3 or 4 hours to break down so that we can actually use the energy, use the sugar that's in the product or in the item in the food as energy. Okay, so generally the night before we go on ride and 3 to 4 hours before we go on ride, we want to make sure we have some proteins and fats, okay, normal food, and then we want to make sure we increase our complex carbs. Okay, so what this is doing, it's helping our body to be able to store fuel as what's called glycogen in our muscle. So it's helping our body to be able to fill up its energy tank, so it's full, it's at 100% before we go on ride. So we've actually got a tank to drain on. So some products that you can use to help improve your complex carbs. You can use things like pasta, right? So this is just like some spaghetti, right? You can make pasta, spaghetti, you could have macaroni the night before, and you could even have that in the morning if you like having pasta for breakfast. So that's a good complex carb source that you can use. Another complex carb source that you can use is these bad boys, potatoes. Okay, these are white potatoes, but you can use sweet potatoes as well. You can make mashed potato out of them, you can have them boiled, you could have a potato salad, heaps of options that you can use with potatoes. So, there we go, probably just broke all the pasta. So you can have them the night before, you can have them in the morning of as well before you go on ride, roughly 3 to 4 hours. You use a little bit of bread, okay, so white bread is an option, okay, you can use that the night before, you can use that in the morning as well, 3 to 4 hours before. The most important thing is that you've got that 3 to 4 hour gap, because if you do it too close to when you're going riding, it's when you're going to feel like all of this is sitting in your stomach, and the reason that's going to happen is because they're high in starch. The other one I've got here is protein oats. These ones are from Bulk Nutrients. They're really easy. So you just use I'm pretty sure we just use a scoop of those and you put it in a bowl, mix it up with water. So if you go into the track, these are reasonably easy to make as well. I know some of the other stuff gets a bit, need a little bit of prep, bit of organisation, but that makes it easy. So that's the complex carb stuff, okay? The other complex carb here that I missed out is our white rice. So these are great. I just went and got these from the shop so I can show you guys. These are little rice cups, okay, basmati rice cups. And again, you just put a bit of hot water in there and stir it up, and there's your rice. So you can have these the night before racing, like if you're traveling, you can bring it away with you. If you need to bring them to the track in the morning, have it for breakfast, you can do that as well with your protein and your fats as well. So there's a few easy options or foods that you can use. Now, once we've done the night before and we've done 3 to 4 hours before, okay, you've had your complex carbs, you've had some protein and maybe some fats as well, so you can have some, meat, some eggs in the morning. Then as we get closer to when you're going riding and when you're riding, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're topping up your simple carbs. Okay, so simple carbs are broken down into sugar already, very easy for the body to digest, give you energy very, very quickly. Okay, these are not carbs that are going to feel very heavy and slow you down and cause you to feel like you're very heavy and very lethargic, which is why we get them in about half an hour before you go out for your ride, and then for every hour of riding, okay? So as a rough rule of thumb, we want 30 to 45 grams of simple carbs going in for every hour of riding that you do, okay? So to give you an example with those, I've got a few options here that you can use. First of all, you can start off, as a simple options for the track, you can use it like carb gels. These are called Winners carb gels. You can get them from like Woolies and Coles, so they're relatively accessible for those of you who are in Australia. And they're just little gel packets, pretty much just full of simple carbs. So you just rip the top off and you suck out the gel. They're usually relatively sweet, and then you're good to go. So if we look at one of these have got about 30 grams of carbs in it. You probably have 1 to 2 of these for every hour of riding. So you might have one before you go on, half an hour before you go and ride. For every hour of riding you do, have 1 or 2 of these bad boys. The other option that you've got for when it comes to simple carbs, you can use a carb powder. Okay, so this one's from True Protein called Endurance. It's a carb and electrolyte mix. This one for each serving has 45 grams of carbs, so it's a fair bit of carbs in this one. This one you just have 1 scoop of this for every hour of riding. Okay, you can put it in your Camelback or mix it up into a protein shaker, so it's there ready for you to go. But you only need 1 scoop, probably 1 scoop of that. Other option for simple carbs, you have a bottle of Powerade. Powerade's got 35 grams of carbs in a bottle of Powerade, 600 ml bottle. You just want to make sure you get the full strength Powerade, the normal stuff, not the zero or the no sugar, because the sugar is the carbs. Okay, so it's important that we do that. So you can have a bottle of Powerade, 1 to 2 bottles of Powerade for every hour. Or you can have a bottle, roughly half an hour before you go and ride or race. The other option which you can use, which is an option, it's just a little bit harder generally, but depending on what you've got available, is you can use fruit. A medium orange is probably about 15 grams of carbs. These oranges I've got here are a little bit smaller, so I'd say maybe they got 10 grams in them. So to get your 30 grams in, you'd have to have 3 oranges every hour of riding, right? So if we're getting between 30 and 45, that's probably 4 oranges an hour, which means if you're going on a 3-hour ride, that's 12 oranges. So when it comes to what we should be doing and what's actually practical, obviously there's a bit of a breakdown there because you're probably not going to bring a bag of 12 oranges with you to make sure that your carbs are topped up. So that's why I like the gels and the carb powder and the Powerades are just easier options to get a lot of carbs in a very easy way. My recommendation is for enduro, depending on what type of riding you do. If you do a lot of desert racing, okay, where it's very fast, and putting something in your Camelback and drinking through the straw generally isn't as easy, use the carb gels. So like at Think, we get our guys to use the carb gels. You can either strap them to your fuel tank and get your team to bring them for you, or put them in your Camelback, so when you're getting refueled, you can have them yourself. That tends to work better. Or you can you can mix up a shake as well and get your team to bring the shake for you and have the shake at the fuel stop very quickly. But I find the gels are the best. If you do more hard enduro type riding, where everything's a little bit more stop-start, it's a bit easier to suck stuff out of your Camelback, and you probably don't want to be taking any unnecessary stops to try and get nutrients in. So in that case, fill your Camelback up with a whole heap of Powerade, or fill it up with a whole heap of carb drinks so that you are ready to rock and roll. So overall, that's carbs, and that's the 2 different areas of carbs. You just got to be able to implement it to get the results. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you'd like some help with this stuff, you want all your training, your nutrition mapped out, you can apply for my Faster Laps program below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.